Well, hello there. Now, I know that title probably got you wondering, what is this going to be about? Man keeping. Well, just hold on, because first of all, I want to say we've been trained to keep everything from falling apart, right? And even to the instance that no one even watches or understands or knows that we're doing it. And there is an actual term for this. And what I'm talking about is the things that we do for the men in our lives, especially for the men in our lives. And so there's an actual term for this now, and it's called man keeping. And it's not just about relationships. Let me get this straight right up. And it shows up at our work, in our families, even in friendships. And what it really is, it's emotional labor. And that's what we're talking about today. It's unpaid, is unnoticed, but it's always expected. And actually, I'm going to tell you where it first started showing up. But just so you get an idea of what it looks like, it's constantly scanning the emotional temperature of the room, and it's prepping, getting ready for his reaction before he even, has a reaction. And it's managing logistics, moods, and unspoken needs, right? That we're sensing or feeling or just anticipating. And it's feeling responsible for everyone else's comfort and swallowing. Get this, it's swallowing your own overwhelm to stay supportive. And we love staying supportive. These are the people we love. So, welcome to the Unlearning Break Time Live. And I am glad that you decided to spend your break time with me today. So, and I'm Mischelle, if you don't know who I am. But this isn't man bashing. So, this isn't what I'm talking about. It's emotional labor performed to keep men emotionally or practically stable. Our husbands, our bosses, our brothers, even our grown sons, we are there for them, and it's good. We love them. My love language is all about service, and so I love taking care of my husband. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that feeling like we're giving and not receiving on the other end. So, how do I say this? Have you ever wondered why it always falls on you to adjust, to absorb, or to anticipate while he gets to just exist? Did you get that? Where you're wondering, have they eaten? Is the door locked? Do they need this? Did they remember this? What's their next thing on the schedule? All these things that you're keeping in your mind, and the cost to you is emotional burnout. Is trying to keep someone else's schedule, someone else's mood, someone else emotional wellness and yours. And remember, a lot of us have kids too, so you're doing this with the kids too. And it's suppressing your resentment because you're resentful because you're doing all this and nobody really recognizes what you're doing, the labor that you're doing. And it's not just physical. We're not talking about just physical. It's the loss of voice and your needs. It's swallowing your needs, is swallowing what you really feel, what you really want, because now isn't the time, or this isn't the space, or I'm not in the right frame to talk about this right now. And what it is perpetually emotional depletion because we're holding all of this and not expressing it. And where it starts is really generational. So remember, as a little girl, many of us were raised on these invisible rules. Don't upset him. Remember, dad come home, give him a few minutes. Don't upset them. Don't upset him. Meet him at the door. Give him a kiss. Greet him. But don't. Give them time. Don't rush in on them, and don't tell them about this or whatever. Or how about be the bigger person when your little brother does something and you rightfully say it was his fault or it was him, but what do you get? Be the bigger person. He's young. He doesn't know any better. Or making sure that everyone's okay. Remember that one? It was your responsibility, especially me as the big sister, to make sure everybody's okay. And these are things that we learn. And little girls are praised for being helpful, polite, emotionally attuned to what's going on. Oh, she's so intuitive. She's so in tune. But rarely are we praised for having boundaries, right? Let me let that one land for a minute. So, the good woman archetype, and I'm not talking about the TV show, is still tied to how much that we sacrifice and how much we honor ourselves, right? And so there's a cultural shift now. And that's where this man keeping term comes from, because more women are naming the emotional imbalance in their homes and in their relationships. Again, we're not bashing, we're talking about an imbalance. The rise of the terms like man keeping shows that we're waking up to invisible labor that's gone unchecked for generations. Remember, we've learned this. And emotional exhaustion is no longer being dismissed and thrown aside or pushed aside as being normal, because it's not. And it's not healthy. And it's not a way to live. So and I want you to understand, this isn't just romantic. I'm not talking about your partner or your husband, but I'm talking about other men in your life, your brother, your cousin, your boss. You're keeping your boss regulated by anticipating his moods, right? Yes, you're getting paid, but you're not getting paid to anticipate his mood. You're getting paid to keep his schedule. You're getting paid to do the work in the office, but anticipating his mood is not what you're getting paid for. You're managing your brother's avoidance of family tension. You're the step in, the in between the tension that he has with someone else in the family, because you're trying to keep everything calm and everything on an even keel. And you're parenting grown men in your household and then blaming yourself for being tired. Well, yeah, why wouldn't you be tired, right? And here's what makes it stick. From the time we were little girls, we're trained to be helpful, polite, the emotional glue, the one that holds everything together. But we weren't taught to be powerful or direct. No boundary holding. I remember getting in trouble all the time for speaking my mind. Go figure, right? And that's why it doesn't feel like a choice. It actually feels, in many cases, like it's a duty. But you do have that choice. So answer this for me. Where will you first applaud for self sacrifice? Remember stepping down and letting someone else. And when did it start to cost you? Because it wasn't right away. Usually it's not right away. But when and where down the line did it start costing you? So I want you to get a good picture of how this shows up in your life. You're coordinating his appointments, right? Remembering birthdays for both sides, not just your family, but his family too. Managing emotional temperature in the house. You want to keep everything cool, calm, and collected. And no one's asking how you're doing, how you're hanging in there. Is there anything they can do for you, right? No one even thought about asking that. And you don't fall apart, not because you're fine, I hate that phrase. I'm fine, right? But because there's no room to fall apart, because you're the container holding everything together. And you catch yourself mid-sentence forgetting what you even want anymore, because you're already thinking, your mind is already triggering on the little things that you need to provide for others. And because you haven't asked yourself what you want in months, you didn't have the time. You're physically there, right? But you kind of feel numb because you're just going through the motions sometimes. It's the thing that you need to do, the way you need to be. And that, I'm fine. I'm fine. Oh, I'm fine. It's practice. You see how well I said it? I knew exactly how to say it, right? And you dread weekends. Get this. You dread weekends more than weekdays because at least at work, you're acknowledged, you're appreciated. I hope, right? And so somewhere you've initialized that to be valuable, or you internalize, I'm sorry, you internalize that to be valuable, you well, you had to be indispensable. You have to be needed. It's not just a matter of being wanted, but it's a matter of being needed, because needed is something that someone will come back to again and again. And you're chasing security by being needed, because somewhere that being wanted wasn't safe. It goes away. It changed constantly. And now you feel like the invisible scaffolding in everyone else's life, holding it all together. But quietly, you're eroding. And so that smile that you give in dinner at dinner seems a little forced. The exhaustion is not just physical, it's a soul depletion. It's in your body, in your emotions, it's every part of you. And that resentment, oh girl, it terrifies you because you don't want to be that way. You don't want to feel that way. And you know what? You still love every one of them. It isn't about love, because service can be your love language. Look, psychologists say that many women were raised to believe that being needed is the same as being loved. I mean, this is fact. It's something that is known. So what we do is we overfunction, we carry the weight, and then we wonder why we're emotionally exhausted over time and all the time. So if you stop keeping it all together, if you stop being the container, the one that held everything together, who would fall? And who would finally rise? Because sometimes you're letting others have that space to step in, allows them to grow and do things and learn things that they never realized that or even thought about doing themselves. And so you mask all this as being supportive. I'm just supporting, I'm just being supportive. But inside, you're afraid to let go because you're afraid of what will happen if you don't step in. Look, girlfriend, they're not going to die. They'll be okay. You're convinced that everything will fall apart if you stop managing it all because you're good. You're good at managing because you've learned it since you've been a child, and you're not just exhausted because I'm exhausted talking about this. You're afraid to see who you are when you're not over functioning because you don't know that girl anymore. And so there are subtle signs, and I want you to know what they are, that it's not love, but this load that we're talking about. One would be your calendar is full, and my calendar is full, but none of it's for you. Go ahead right now. I'm asking you to look at your calendar on your phone Is there anything in there for you that you want to do? And if it is, let me know. I'd love to know what you put in there or put on your calendar for you. Or what about his needs get met immediately, but yours get rescheduled? Hmm. All yours get rescheduled, but if he needs something, it's done. Or what about you measure your value by how indispensable you are? Look, somewhere along the line, you were confused that being needed was being loved. And you're performing emotional labor as a pittance, not a partnership. Here's the thing I want you to get: emotional labor can be shared. It's not just a woman's job to regulate everyone's mood. And I think that's so important. I'm going to repeat it. Emotional labor can be shared. And it's not just your job as a woman to regulate everyone's mood. You're good at it. You're darn good at it because you've had years to perfect it. But love isn't about sacrificing yourself to keep someone else comfortable, even though that's what we want. But healthy love means shared responsibility, not silent resentment. It means he sees your rest as a right, not a threat. And I hope you're writing these down. It's you can say no without a 20-minute justification on why you chose to say no. And it's the fact that your presence is valued, not just your productivity, how well you get things done, but the fact that you're there. You're not being unloving by stepping back. You're being honest about what your love is costing you. And the funny thing is, we have control over that. But what we've been doing is giving that control away. And what I'm asking you to do is to pick it back up. What have you stopped doing for yourself in the name of holding everything together for him? Out of love, right? Or is it? Love is reciprocal in most relationships. And so you can love someone deeply and still set them down. Especially as mothers, we learn to do this with our children. You know that saying is you have to love them enough to let them go. And that's what we do when we hit that empty nest is it's time to let them go. But why are we letting them go? Because we believe that we have trained them in the best way we know how. And we're praying that they take the things that we train them with and they go out there in the world and they remember them and they use them and they learn from them and they learn from their mistakes. So you don't need this grand announcement. But I want to show you what the first step looks like. And it starts with a pause. It's one responsibility, one emotional task, one mental tab that you decided not to reopen. It's a silent, quiet reclamation or reclaiming of your mind, your time, and your peace. It's the not mine audit, right? These are tangible practices that I want you to get. And we're going to start with the not mine audit. Is you pause and you ask, is this mine to carry or take on, right? Or the silent rehearsal that says, before reacting or offering to help, say nothing. Ooh, that's a hard one. Let the silence teach you what you really want to do. Or what about that gentle exit? Is where you practice opting out without guilt. Hey, really? Hey, I trust you got this then. I know you got this. Go for it. Right? So the thing is, when you do these practices that I'm talking about, guilt can rise up. These are the things: guilt and panic and urgency, like, oh, but I can't let them fall. I've got to step in. And that feeling that, well, you're letting everything crash. Let it, because that's not the truth. And that's the noise of habit breaking. You're gonna feel all those things, but they're not the truth. You finally get to feel your own pulse again when you start breaking that habit and you start letting go. And you remember that your needs matter too. And you begin to trust others with their own lives and stop taking responsibility for what happens in their lives. And you begin to trust yourself with your life. Look, this is not about walking away. We love them. It's about stepping into the version of you that doesn't have to trade her well being for the illusion of peace. I'd love for you to go back over these exercises and tell me the next time that you practice one of them and what happened. I'd love for you to share that with me. And it has been great being here live with you today and for you showing up. And I want to thank you. And until next time, I'll catch you on the next Break Time Live. Take care. Bye bye.